Yo, people checking in at the Sunday. Yo, Daniel, bless up yourself. What go on?
They are no, they are no another week,
Yeah,
another
man.
show, another episode. You don't know.
Yeah, as we were, bless up the people and us rolling in. Bless up to everybody in the comment section. Bless up to the viewers. Bless up to the people, watching is back on the replay, look more in the night or tomorrow down in the week. We only have probably around 45 minutes worth of show, this evening. Very, very short one, but we're gonna try to jam up everything in it, yeah, as the British will say in it. But we were chit chatting, the Lakers, Minnesota, gun down the Lakers in Minnesota, in the place them call Minneapolis. And it's a tough one, and the Lakers 3-1 down. I have to go back to like the final what they did and in Oakland, they did and Golden State Warriors. Daniel is a big fan for the Lakers. I'm not really a supporter for Lakers. I'm a Celtic supporter. I know I like LeBron, but I'm a diehard Celtic supporter. But what you think? Going back to the crypto arena.
I think the Lakers can grab an a win, but
Yeah,
they have to get out that did a win on the Minnesota home.
yeah. That
Bring it back to LA and finish.
game one. If LA go on to lose the series, it's all about what happened in game one.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have lost game one. But people, as I said, man, we just have like 4 to 5 minutes here, some stuff to deal with. So, a very short show. But listen upon yourself again, thanks for tuning in. But no other is to start off the show, Daniel. Big game, yesterday, big game, one of the biggest game, of the weekend alongside, the big River Plate Boca Junior game happening in Buenos Aires. Barcelona, the El Clasico, you know, it swing at Barcelona, came back in Real Madrid, Kunde, grabbed that late winner. You know, um, I just think, Ancelotti threw away the game, in the first, you would say in the first half, I didn't know what was he planning to do or what his intent to do in the first 45 minutes. I think you think maybe conceded in a first goal in the last two meetings versus Real Madrid at Bernabeu and in the Super Copa, concede a goal left, right, and center, come out a little bit defensive. You just cannot come out defensive in a El Clasico game. The Pedri was having too much touches on the football, and Flick was having his own way with that team. They just couldn't get near that Barcelona midfield. They were less physical. It is like they were just waiting for something to happen so they could react, and they did that in the second half. But what your takes though on that first half? That game in Seville.
Yeah. I mean, if you've been watching the last few Barca Real Madrid game, at Real Madrid just been sitting off. You get me? Um, Basically this season, I don't know what happened to Real Madrid. I guess you could say that Kylian Mbappe came in, kind of mess up the chemistry a little bit, losing Tony Cruz. You get what I'm saying? So Real Madrid always gonna lose that midfield battle against that Barca team that been dominating 90% of the game they're playing this season. You get what I'm saying? So going into that game, Real Madrid was always gonna be very vulnerable in that midfield. That kid Pedri. Are we
Brilliant.
still gonna call him a kid? He
Yeah,
was.
brilliant.
I think he's
Yeah,
been around the
time
block.
for
Yeah, I think he's been around the block now. Won the Euros. You get what I'm saying? He won a
yeah,
La Liga before, so you get me. Midfield Marshall, but I think Ancelotti. I think the end is very near. You
mhm,
get what I'm saying? I think if the Real
yeah,
Madrid was gonna win anything this season, this was supposed to be the trophy to
yeah,
make the camp feel some good about this season because
yeah.
this season have been very right off. But um this game was all over the place.
Yeah, I know it was really, really awful game, in that midfield. I don't know what was Valverde was doing. One time I saw the game stop, Daniel, and I look at and the camera zoomed on Valverde, and Valverde shoes lace was untied. I have never seen that before. I asked, person I was watching the game with, and it's like, yo, it's a normal thing for him to untie shoes lace. But overall, though, this Real Madrid team, like leadership, from on the pitch and off the pitch. I just think, when you look at the big games that Real Madrid go into, this season, they're just waiting for something to happen, so they can react. It's not just bring the game to the opponent team. And you have to give Barcelona a lot of credit. You have to give Flick a lot of credit. That midfield, it was such a dynamic midfield. The Young and the Pedri. As I said, in the first half, Pedri was having 4, 5 touches before someone could actually close him down. And the wing area, it was a big, selection to bring Ferland Mendy in after having played, for over 4 weeks, and to bring him in a crucial game, when Fran Garcia was a lot more fitter, more suitable, with the tempo of the game, someone that can mark, Yamal, much closer. But the midfielders didn't get close, to the Barcelona team. And, the second half, they react and they brought a lot of energy, they brought, a lot of physicality. The Barcelona team, not much, physicality. It's a very young team. Lewandowski wasn't on the pitch. You have to give Ferran Torres a lot of credit. You have to give Danny Olmo, a lot of credit. They run ring roses around that Real Madrid backline. And the wing back, the wing back, even without Balde, Kundes, Kudus, I think that Kunde, I think he was probably one of the best on the pitch, for Barcelona. He was everywhere, so they dominate the pitch. If you ask me, the entire 90 minutes, Real Madrid just had that little moment of spell where Mbappe was really clinical. You could see that the energy and the pace of getting in beyond, but Daniel, Vinicius, it's worrying. It seems like, I don't know, Vinicius cannot beat him. And I saw him get 1v1. That ball came out from a Barcelona set piece, and he got 1v1 with Pedri, one of the slowest player on the Barcelona pitch, and he could not even beat Pedri. So you don't know what's going on with Vinny. And then Rodrigo is always that one, the scapegoat. You would say, he's the one that always come off, when they need to make attacking substitutions, but it's just a part of the game. Real Madrid is only at what they can do in the La Liga. Barcelona, beating them in the Super Copa. Beating them in the Copa del Rey. It's now in the La Liga. But moving on from Spain, move a little bit, over what happened in that big game, earlier today. I forgot the Inter and AS Roma game. Such a crucial game in the Scudetto race. Napoli, your boy Antonio Conte is back on, in the front again. Scott McTominay 3 goals in his last 5 games. A double, versus Empoli, another brace again. At home. But where the race go from here, because if you look at it, Napoli have some of the easiest runnings, going in. I think they have Verona, I think they have Monza. They have teams that's down in the bottom half. Meanwhile, Inter Milan still have 2 critical games that needs to play. I think they have Verona. Next, they have they close out the league phase away to Como, says Fabregas. They still have to play Lazio, in San Siro, but
Champions League. You have the
and
Champions
then
League
talk
to
about the
play.
2 games that they have coming up, this game coming up midweek. But Inter Milan not unbeaten but winless in their last 5. Yeah, their last 3 games. Where they go from it, because they lost in that Coppa Italia versus a very struggling Fonseca AC Milan team. Yet to beat AC Milan this season over 3 games. Yet to beat them in the last 5. So losing against bitter rival, losing against one of the, probably rival again, you would say AS Roma. But where you go from here with Napoli leading the pack now, 3 points.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to Inter over the past couple games since they make it to the next round of the
Mhm.
Champions League, and they just dropped the ball. I think they lost that game against Bologna in the last minute. Brilliant goal, like a bicycle kick, and then from there, I don't know what's going on. My only hope as a Barcelona hater, I was really, really rooting for Inter to take down Barcelona, but my God, it's the wrong time of the season.
Wrong.
They're
Man is
starting
picking,
to,
yeah,
yeah, they're starting to fall off, and
yeah,
but put in perspective, they are a very experienced team. Inzaghi have done a brilliant job since he
yeah.
moved from Lazio and went there.
Mhm.
So they are very experienced team. I expect them to bounce back,
Yeah,
you know. But
you just don't flick a switch that quick.
you don't
Play.
pick a suit, but they have experienced players. You get what I'm saying? They have a very experienced team. This is a team of with winners in here. A lot of international player. Martinez is a world class striker who's leading this team for years now. Since when Conte was there the first time when Conte went there. You get what I'm saying? But I think I think Napoli will get the job done. I think
Yeah,
Conte is very experienced. Look, him have a
yeah,
striker as Lukaku who have won the Italian league before. McTominay is in his time. Basically is time
in
of
the
he's
form of
living
his
his
life. Yeah,
yeah,
yes,
it's farm of his life. You get what I'm
yeah,
saying? And um I think Napoli will push through. I
yeah,
knowing that they don't have no other distraction, no Europe, no cup games, nothing to distract them. So Conte, I remember I was telling you early part of the season, I told you that Conte is one of the best coach when it comes to just focusing on just the league. I
yeah.
think he is one of the most
So
best coach.
Napoli have Lecce next week, home to Girona, away to Parma, and home to Cagliari. And Inter Milan side, they are in the league. Obviously, have a two-legged game with Barcelona, but they home to LS Verona next. They will play away to Torino after that second leg. In the San Siro, they will play home to Lazio, and then they will play away to Como says Fabregas team. That's a tough running right there rather than what Napoli have in the next couple of games. But look, the Frenchman is out. Thuram. You don't know if it's doubtful if he's going to play in.
I think, as you mentioned, Turam, I think from Turam went down. I think that's where you see
Yeah, the
that
Bayern game. I think he
yeah,
picked up
since
on that.
Turam went down, you can see that that they struggle to find goals because Turam and Martinez have such a good connection. So I forgot about Turam. One of the
Yeah.
reasons why they're starting to not score any
Yeah,
goal.
and let me just say this, even during the game that they played earlier today against AS Roma, Pavard went down injured. You know, he went down with the ankle injury. So when you look at that, he's very critical, and someone that normally is the partnership on that right hand side. I know they play three at the back with Dumfries. Dumfries didn't start that game earlier, late earlier today. Darmian started the game, Chalanoglu, Fratesi, they started, and DeMarco started out on that wide left. But if you look at it though, going into that game midweek, as I said, you don't just flick a switch at what Real Madrid, got their ass whooping versus Barcelona. This Barcelona team is very frightening. They have a swagger about them. These young kids are playing with that style. And I think with the tiki taka and how, the Spanish culture and the Spanish football, how they played with a German coming and bring that heavy metal in it, it's just difficult to beat them. And you could see that the physicality have managed to hold on in that game against Real Madrid. They showed a lot, fitness wise, that look, they can manage to get the job done, even if it takes an extra 30 minutes. But Inter, going into that game with Barcelona play a very high line, you know, not the speediest backline for Barcelona, but they will definitely need Thuram to actually break that backline, stretch that Barcelona backline. They will always with Leverman behind the football, coming up in that game, in Barcelona. So their back will be against Wallens. How they can keep a positive result and going to the next leg, the second leg in Italy. So if they can manage to get something what they done in Munich, which I think is going to be a two-time XR than what that game they played in Munich. So with Pavard out injured, Turam out injured, Dumfries was carrying a little knock, that's why he benched the game. So you don't know if Arnautovic is the right man, to partnership with Laturo Martinez, someone that scored 8 goals in the competition so far, so I don't know what to say else, but it was going to be a tough game for Inzaghi, and some injury, with the team. But your last takes though on the Champions League game between Barcelona and Inter. Yeah, hear me?
You hear me? Okay.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's gonna be a very eh?
Your last takes on the Barca Inter game coming up midweek.
Oh, I said I think it's gonna be a very difficult game for Inter. I think it's just the wrong time to facing this Barcelona team.
Yeah.
This Barcelona team look unstoppable. But
Yeah.
knowing our interplay, I think this Barcelona team don't strive against team that play a low block. I think this Barcelona team like for a team to come out. So I think it's gonna be a challenging for this. I don't think it's gonna be a high scoring game. I think
Mhm.
Inter is very experienced to know that to go there and sit back and try to hit Barca on the break. So I think this is gonna be a very maybe a 2-0 for Barcelona game. But I don't see Barca blowing Inter away. I think this, but I still think Barca gonna be too much for Inter and gonna win this game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it right there, with the Barcelona game, onto the big news that happened in England. And big up to Ara. Seems like, he's a Liverpool, you never walk alone. You understand? Bless up yourself, on a 20th league title. It's very painful, Daniel, as a United fan, but let's put some respect, let's add some, some input, and some output on Arne Slot and Liverpool team. In the summer, when they, finally announced that Arne Slot will be, the man that to take charge, after Jurgen Klopp could step away from the post at Anfield. You have this feeling about, there's something special in the year. We know he did something great in Netherlands, but did you have this feeling that, look, Liverpool will be great again? you know can he pick up what the legendary coach have done in the last 8 seasons for Liverpool at Anfield? Did you have that feeling and that thinking that the Dutchman will do something very good? Look, I think this is the first Dutchman to ever win a Premier League title.
No. I thought this would have been Liverpool traditional season,
Mhm.
especially Klopp left, so I was expect that they would have still up there challenge for the Premier League, but I just don't think they would have go all the way. I think they would have really come fall off. I think it would have been, I thought everybody would have thought of it would have been City and
Yeah,
Arsenal again. You get what I'm
yeah,
saying? So um very surprising. I know Liverpool still have the quality there. Remember last season they were up there and then they just fall off, and then
yeah.
City, Arsenal,
Jurgen
was the
Klopp
one
was
that
leading
was
like
done.
5 6 points before they City crawl back and win that league title.
Yeah, yeah. I think yeah, and then but let's be honest, it's never surprising when they see a new coach coming in the Premier League and they won their first. Chelsea did it 3 times before.
Mhm.
Man City and now Liverpool, so it's not nothing new. But congrats for Liverpool. I do not want Arsenal to win the league. I am very much okay with Liverpool winning it. I know United fans. It's crazy because I was doing some I was listening to some podcasts and they said that when Liverpool is dominated, Manchester United is bad.
Yeah,
And when
but
United is dominated,
Liverpool.
Liverpool is bad. You get what
Yeah,
I'm saying? I guess there's never gonna be a time when there's two teams going at it. But
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Let me say this, man. When I just found out that Jurgen Klopp will step away, and then months after, Arne Slot announced that he will be, the successor for Jurgen Klopp. First game, first 6 months of the new era of this coach. One, Jurgen Klopp left back with a very talented group of players. The culture off the pitch, it's excellent. The backroom staff, the ownership, from the janitor go all the way up to the CEO of the football club, the chef, the doctor, everybody was on one page. So the culture and the philosophy, of the field was excellent. He set the tone. So for a new manager to walk through the door of Anfield and to pick up a team like that, experienced players, young players that's coming through, a team that won the Premier League before, a team that usually after winning the big championship, the UEFA Champions League. It's not really surprise, but what really surprised me, if the way how he have dealt with the pressure, the way he have dealt with the press, dealing with the contract issues, dealing with the Trent Alexander-Arnold issue, even seeing him how he managed the squad. I remember a game. I don't remember what game it was, but I remember a game at Anfield. I think they went like one man down in our game, Daniel, and that game he didn't substitute anybody up to the final quarter of the game. He kept changing around persons, kept changing around the players, and just the way how he managed the players. Then it's like this guy have something about him. He has a swagger, about him. And to take up a team, not signing, the world class players, Chiesa for like 10 million. Chiesa is half the pace when he signed Chiesa. So and then to change around a team from a heavy metal system, to a compact team, a counter-attacking team, a team can keep the possession, so it's a well-rounded team that he found. So you have to give him credit, but then you have to give Jurgen Klopp a lot of credit, and then you have to give the players them the credit to buy into the structure of how he want to, take the team forward. It's so unlucky that they went to a PSG team. That's maybe the only team that could have stopped Liverpool this season. You understand? So
Yeah.
how he have dealt with everything, it's second to none, and you have to give him credit. And for a manager to come in the Premier League to win his first league title in his first. You remember when Jose came in England, what 04, 05, he dominated the league, almost 100 points. What Jose did in his first season and grabbed 90 plus points, no one didn't even expect a manager could have done that. 95 points in his first season. You understand? So you look at it, what Jose did, what Antonio Conte won in his first season as well. Remember, I think the Italian won it in his first season as well, Carlo Ancelotti. So what those managers done compare, Pep Guardiola, didn't really manage to do much in his first season. He got like 70 something points. You understand? No, this guy's on 82 points. Jose got 92, the most. So compared to different legends of the game, he's not nowhere near, what Jose and Pep has achieved, but he's right there.
But some would say the league is more competitive than back then. Back then it was just the top four, and
Yeah,
normally it's just the traditional top four. You get what I'm saying?
yeah,
But now you especially you can see from third place go straight down to seventh place. It's
yeah,
all teams just keep on taking points off of each other. You get what
yeah,
I'm saying? So
yeah,
some would say the league is very much harder to win. No, I'm not taking any credit from away from Jose and those type of club. I'm just giving you an example. Say that every team can spend 100 million. No, you get what
yeah,
I'm saying? So yeah, just different eras, different
yeah,
timing. You get what I'm
yeah.
saying? Because back then, it still
But
was competitive,
I
but
just think that what Arne Slot did, I remember when we were watching that first season when Jose, left Porto and come in the Premier League with his 4-3-3. You understand? People was like, what? Where this came from? You understand? And we were looking at each other like, yo, we have never seen this type of football before. I think the next manager who have done that in the Premier League and be successful, you have to give it to Arne Slot, the Dutchman. I'm sorry, but it's difficult to watch TV and look at Liverpool lifting that 20th league title. Sir Alex Ferguson came through the door and won 13. So it's good to see, and it's good to see the legends. It's good to see the legends in the stadium. One of our own, Johnny Barnes, someone that won 2 Premier League title, 2 FA Cup and a League Cup as well. The mighty Kenny Dalglish, yeah, 2 UEFA Champions League. Ian Rush, 5 Premier League. So all the legends were on board, at Anfield earlier, and let them have their moment, and they will, be celebrating from now until maybe the next time the season starts, like 2025, 2026. But What do one question though, Daniel? The Van Dyke and the Salah contract, very crucial, very crucial, for extend those players' contract. Those players combined to get a salary will be almost, $1 million weekly wage. Yeah, close to a million, not there, but close to a million a week. You never see. I've heard of Liverpool paying these, amount of salary to two player before.
No. Especially in their 30s. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I think normally, yeah, only if you're Steven Gerrard, you get what I'm saying, the Mr. Liverpool. But
yeah,
I think they have to credit these players, give these players got credit in the bank. They have won a Champions League, they have multiple cups, they're
yeah,
going and then they won another Premier League. You get what I'm saying? They're still in their prime. I think Van Dijk, Salah can give it two good seasons at the highest level. See them way. You get what I'm saying? So
yeah,
and they don't you don't just want to just get rid of two experienced players just like that, and you don't have at least you have to bring in someone first and let these players guide them through. You get what I'm saying? To the
yeah,
traditional. You get what I'm saying? Which I wish Chelsea would have done. You still have Thiago Silva to help the team
yeah,
gradually guide them through. You get what I'm saying? So Liverpool is doing the way where maybe going into this summer they will bring in two youngsters or
yeah.
two players that ready to take over from what's his name, Virgil van Dijk,
Virgil van Dijk, yeah, and
Mo
Mo Salah,
Salah.
yeah,
Just like
but
when they have
yeah,
what's his name, the keeper as the backup keeper. What's his
Kelly, yeah.
name? Kelly. I think Kelly. I think Kelly kind of sticking around to see if Allison will go because Kelly is a top goalkeeper.
I think he worth 30 million in the market right now. 30,
Yeah,
40 million. He's
a
a
top keeper.
what now Irish, Northern Ireland, I think.
Yeah,
Somewhere, yeah, yeah,
yeah. So I think Liverpool is just gradually just keeping these players, which is they're gonna be a Liverpool legend. You
hmm
get what I'm saying, and then bringing some new players to
yeah,
help them.
yeah. All right, so 5 minutes before we go into the Reggae Boy segment, Crystal Palace. What happened? Crystal Palace, Crystal Palace won the game with Mateta missing a penalty kick. You know, Nottingham Forest had probably the best moment in that last 15 minutes where they just couldn't get the ball in the back of the net. But the Villa game, I have never seen Aston Villa came out in our game since it have started so flat. And you have to blame probably, I would probably put 40% of the blame on Unai Emery and the 60% on the players. People were talking about, you know, the game that Aston Villa played versus Crystal Palace. They were tired, they were leggy, they have gone, over 50 plus games of the season so far. And I was like, no, they have played Paris Saint-Germain 11 days prior to that date. So that was like literally almost 2 weeks before that second leg.
But they play Man City midweek.
No, they play Man City midweek, but I'm just saying, I don't think it's just leggy. It's coming over from what
I,
happened in that Man City game.
I think it's leggy though. I watched that game. They look leggy.
You know what? They might be, but I don't think it down to the
I
players.
don't think it was fully because them leggy. Tactical wise, they were all over the place. I think Crystal Palace coach his tactics spot on. But I can see they look very leggy. Tillinsman and
But
Kamar was very leggy and in the
Daniel,
net.
but if you look at the game, Oliver Glasner, he have done excellent. Remember, we praised him his first 10 game of the new era at Crystal Palace. Then he just fall off. Now he picked up back, and to bring a club back again to the FA Cup final after nearly 10 years when Manchester United beat them in that FA Cup final at Wembley. But if you look at how he set up his team with runners, with aggressive players, players that are willing for fight. Villa team, Asensio, hate to run. You understand? Rogers will run with the football. Ollie Watkins, he run the channels. But when you talk about, pressing, you're not really going to get that from him. Tillman, is a man that used to control the tempo in the midfield. You understand? Kamara, hate to run. So when you look at it, there's not much pace in that Villa team, you know. And I want
But
to
then I
talk about that Bailey,
go
but I
ahead.
don't want to go to the Bailey segment as yet. But when you look at the team, there wasn't enough pace that break the lines, that three at the back. I
Yeah,
think Guy Lacrosse, those players were having a field day at the back for Crystal Palace. Didn't really get much though, that they train.
yeah. But hear this: the last 3 games, Crystal Palace have beat Aston Villa. So Crystal Palace have Aston Villa ticket.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So the last game they play in the Premier League was 2-2 at Aston Villa home.
Hmm.
The first game, the other game, wait there. They may even beat them in the EFL Cup this season. So this is the fourth time.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Crystal,
yeah, 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 yeah,
you
yeah. I
get what I'm
forgot.
saying?
Yeah, yes, they are the one
So,
that beat them in the AFL Cup. Yes,
but
you're right.
even hear this though. Last from 2022, Crystal Palace have beat Aston Villa 3-1. Aston Villa only have won 2 games out of the last 5 games. So
Wow.
this team have Aston Villa ticket. It's a
Yeah,
bogey team.
yeah.
So yesterday, so people might look and say, yo, yes, it's a semi-final in Wembley. Aston Villa have the better team, but we need to be real. Maybe this Crystal Palace team have Aston Villa ticket. You get what
You
I'm
think
saying?
this Palace team with Eze, Sar, Mateta better than the previous team that with the Punchen, the Zaha, you know what team I'm talking about.
Um,
I was it
individually,
right? I just was a manager at that time. You know that
I
team I'm
think
talking.
individually that team was much better. Individually. Because I would have picked a Saar over in the Crystal Palace team. A
Yeah,
Punchen, what's that boy name? A Balassi.
Balassi. Yeah, Yannick
A
Balassi.
Balassi
Yeah,
over in it. You see what I'm saying? So I think
with that team with Ben Teke and stuff like
I'm
that.
being
Yeah,
taken. I think individually, brilliance player wise was better. But I think structured wise team,
yeah.
this
This
team
team
is
is
way better.
way
Yes,
better. Yeah,
way
I
better.
believe. I think this team is frightening. But City will have their job cut out in that final coming up in 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. For the but Daniel, the Reggae Boys, segment. We watch the Premier League and we saw one of our player went down. The Molyneux. With what probably around a month. Before squad supposed to announce for that crucial games coming up versus BVI and Guatemala. Or Daniel is not there. I hold my thoughts. But people,
I'm here.
yeah, but yeah, Bobby Reed, pull his army in the last Premier League game versus Wolves at the Molineux, a game that Wolves just demolished them, sinking that ship more and more. Bobby Reed, we talk about, not the most skillfulest player, most, player with the aesthetic of going to catch your eyes, but you're talking about performance. You're talking about doing the groundwork, the hard work. Work his socks off. Sacrifice his game so the luxury players can get more time on the football and can get more opportunity in the final third. He's down. Hopefully his army is not something that it's really serious because around a month from now, today's what the 27th squad will be announced. You understand? For the two World Cup qualifier games. We already short in the midfield in terms of bodies, quality, in terms of numbers, in terms of minutes, everything. We are short in that midfield, and we even saw in the US game that we probably could have do with Bobby Reed legs in that midfield, with the Isaac Kid in that midfield, the Maggie was in that midfield. Could have probably do a little bit more with him in it. You understand? But with him going down,
Mhm.
I'm seeing it usually take like 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
If it's just a small, tissue, strain, maybe take at least 2.5 weeks. But hamstrings usually like a month at this time. You understand? And he grab his back of his leg, but your takes though going forward, knowing that we might miss a Bobby, which not going to be I frightening you talking about Guatemala BVI, but you still need him. You'll be out. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we will miss Bobby. In the last couple games watching Jamaica, I think Bobby have been always. I think out of all the players them that always come
Yeah.
play for Jamaica, I think Bobby always give a 8 out of 10 performance,
Mhm.
90% of the game them. So I think him not being there is and
Yeah.
can and he's lead on the field too. I like his leadership. You get what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So I think overall the injury is not too damaging. A
Yeah.
lot of players I realize in football these days there's a lot of hamstring injury. I
Yeah.
think that's become a very minor thing now. Like it's like
Yeah. It's
hamstring
a regular routine now.
regular routine because I feel like the players them
Yeah,
is
they're
putting
muscle
so
stretching.
yeah motion that shirt. They're playing a lot of games. You get what I'm saying? So I just hope that is not too long. But who's gonna be the replacement? Because we still need. I don't think we should just say, all right, Bobby Reed is not coming. Just go on. I think there should be a body that came
I
in.
think we if Bobby will be fit in 3 weeks from now. 3 weeks from now will be close to around the 15th of May. Somewhere or the 18th of May will be like 3 weeks from now. I don't think we should rush him. I think we should save him for the Gold Cup. Not to rush him back. For the two World Cup qualifier game and probably done more extent and if aggravate that injury back again because it's a very tricky thing about muscle injury. If you don't heal properly, you can aggravate that injury again and going to out for a longer period. So I think this now he will be finished for the entire season. Hopefully, just rest, waiting for the Gold Cup that will come later in the summer and also the crucial phase of the last round of the World Cup qualifier. But you touch on something. Who will replace? And that's the thing. When you look at players that didn't got called up, you look in the last squad. When you look at Casey, who was in the squad because of he was coming back off an injury. Ruben Sellers said that he want him to stay. Ruben Sellers said that he he talked to the JFF about pulling him from the squad because he played in the last game and his ankle swelled upon him again. So he pulled out of the last squad. J Ross, not a player that you probably would say there's controversially around him reject that called up, which I don't think it's just a reject. I just think Barnes was at a place that season where they just need Jonathan Russell, and for him, you know, to be in that team, be fresh after the international break because they were crucial, to get crucial points to see if they could make that last ditch into the playoff. But they didn't, and kind of Unaran, the ex-Aston Villa player said, "Look, we need him." So look at that, and then you have a player like Ravel. So if you look at, we don't really have much option. It's the pool is thin. The pool is
Mm,
thin, and if you maybe look at players that maybe potentially might come in, is the Stoke player Lewis Baker, who is doing well. Then after got his loan cancel recall back. So not much. We don't have much option. It's very thin, and I want to talk about Casey as well. You understand? And I want to touch on a player like that, Daniel, out in December, came back just 2 weeks before, the March window of international break, and he missing games. He haven't touched the field in the last 2 games, and
mm,
this was a manager that commit to Casey Palmer, giving opportunity, and he let down, the manager quite a few games. I think his last real goal in a All City shirt, I think he played really well. Maybe he was against his former team, Coventry. So when you look at a player now, Daniel, that for All City fighting for relegation and cannot get into a team, where we go from here? You understand? Meanwhile, a J Ross that who is banging in goals, left, right, and center. 10 goals, 2 assists. For Barnsley. One of the brightest sparks now for Barnsley. But the pool is thin, and I want to get your reaction or your perspective on what will be your reaction if we have to go back for a Ravel that who is playing non-league football in the Middle East? You will say because basically it's non-league football in the Middle East.
Who?
Ravel Morrison, non-league
He left
football,
he left
yeah,
MLS?
yeah, yes, non-league football, yeah, in the Middle East, so I don't know. I'm very short of words to explain to the you and the viewers that what will be the replacement for some of the players in that midfield. Understand?
Um see
But
and
Casey
that
though, but Casey, in All City, one of their marquee signing of the summer season, he signed on the last day deadline, left Coventry, not managed to recover back his farm. He's going backwards. I'm telling you, a team that's fighting for relegation scrap, looking to go to League One football, cannot get a game in that team.
he's
Why?
not playing.
I don't. Yeah, and he's not playing.
I don't know what is going on. It's like a curse with our players them. Why is always our players them just not able to get games in their teams? You get what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
I think at this stage right now, we do need our players them playing games because it's coming up to a crucial time.
yeah,
Work of what we need players that are competing and playing games. So whenever they come and play for the national team, they
yeah,
look like they were playing football. You get what I'm saying? I don't know. I see you showing me Jonathan Rush and he look brilliant.
yeah,
I don't think I have not seen a player. I don't think we have a player like like what I saw from Jonathan
yeah,
Russia. I saw there was Allet and someone a ball carrier. I don't think we have a ball carrier.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
I think we have wingers that can do a little thing on the wing, but I don't think we have a ball carrier to
yeah,
open up space. Like if you watch Premier League and you watch Morgan Rogers or that play for
yeah,
Aston
yeah.
Villa,
Someone, yeah,
someone who
yeah,
carry the ball and open up space.
yeah,
We don't have that. And I see a little bit that in Jonathan Russell. Why is he
yeah.
not accepting the invitation?
I don't know, cause I just don't know how to answer that. Steve McCarron need to answer that. I don't know, to be honest. Yeah. But when he got called up in the September window,
Hmm.
I remember if it was Cuba, and I think maybe Honduras. Maybe it was a Cuba and Honduras game. He got called up. He never featured in the game. The October window, the manager told him that the reason why he left him out is not getting enough minutes. And what I have from here since that interview Steve McCarron did until the end of 2024, he have played 1,159 minutes for his club. And then when you look at what he started to do at this year, it's 7 goals. You understand? He scored in 2025 alone with 1 assist. So I don't know why he wasn't in that squad, and I don't know. I don't want to bring the kind of Unaran issue with he done interview with the press. So I think coming up next, Jonathan Russell have to be in the next team. You understand? And for me, looking at Casey Palmer, yeah, since that ankle injury, for Casey Palmer, and he came back in March, sometime in March, the first week or so, he have played 268 minutes of football. Yeah, he have played 268 minutes of football. That's like close to around 5 to 6 games of 90 minutes. So you have not managed to play a lot of football. You have not managed to prove the coach that he should be a mainstay in that All City team. And I used to like Casey, and I used to back Casey. You understand? And I used to back his talent. Casey was a good player. I remember people don't remember that he played in the Premier League a couple of games for Huddersfield. I think 2017, 2018. And for him to be on the bench since he came back from injury 3 or 4 times in that period of playing those 268 minutes, he's telling me that this is a player that's going backwards, and this is a player that maybe it's League One is his level. I'm sorry, League One is probably his level.
Yeah.
When he played that game, versus his former team, Coventry, the fans were actually singing that Thank God we let it go because the player that they replaced him with, Rodoni, that player have already have double digits in contributions, goal contributions this season. So he was that player for Coventry last season, you know, under Mark Robbins. No, he's not there anymore. So no, he signed. All City was like a seven, finished seven in the championship table last season. And a year boy that's coaching was Strasbourg, Liam Mercenaire. So they once was a playoff contender team. No, they're a relegation team about to get kicked out of the championship. So I just think that maybe League One football will do Casey Palmer well. Maybe that's his level. And for
But
him, a player that never played in League One football before, I've never played League One football before.
but that doesn't help we as a nation
That
that's
doesn't help
trying
we,
to,
but maybe that will
because
help his confidence going into the last crucial phase of the World Cup qualifier.
that's will help his confidence, but that won't help. I just don't think him going down, stepping down will help. I think it will help him playing
Who
some
who who
game.
will be the suitors? Who will be the suitors for him? Nobody. He's on a fat 3-year contract. He's 1 year going to finish now.
So you're telling me he just signed with All City and already
Yeah.
not getting no games?
No.
I
You
don't know,
understand?
man.
He's one of the highest paid player on that team. One of. He's
So
one of the
he's just not performing now. What?
he's just not performing, and I want to have some leeway on him as well because coming out, ankle injury can be very tricky, especially his ligaments. Yeah, he hurt his ligament in his ankle. You understand? So maybe I don't know if it's down to the bad injury that he picked up where he missed, around 13 league games, for Hull City over the winter periods. I don't know, man, but he needs to look at himself. If this team say All City, let me just look at this. Let me see. All City, which is the last, which team them have last for playing the championship. Because the championship is right there right now. This is the last rounds of game. So All City is in 22, 1 point above Luton Town, which is Amarbell. Their last game will be away at Fratton Park versus Portsmouth. Portsmouth already safe. You understand? And they need to get a win. They need to get a win and hope that Preston or Derby County or Stoke City can, drop points. So it's not in your hand. So potentially he have 1 foot in League One football. So I'm just saying, man, probably just go down to League One. Probably that's his level. Probably that's the decline of Casey. He's like probably at 28, 29 at this moment. Probably just, and if he go down to League One and cannot do what Jonathan Russell then he's doing for Barnsley, I'm sorry, but I don't think we should be looking at him again if he cannot improve himself in League One football. From Premier League
But
with
yeah, this.
Chelsea Academy.
But yeah, this. If he at a level where we think the championship, the championship is a good level.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's at the. I think the championship is better than the MLS. I think it's a much competitive league. You get what I'm saying? Because the championship do gets to play the Premier League team in FA Cups,
Mm-hmm.
EFL Cups. So it's a very good level. You get what I'm saying? So if he's not getting game for his championship team, he have to we cannot pick players. I'm sorry, we have to be ruthless as a nation.
Yeah.
If we want to get better as a team,
Yeah.
and if I am the coach, if I am Steve McLaren and I always used to depend on this player to come and I see these players not performing at his club, and you're saying that we need to accept that this player should go to the League One to start getting games, and maybe that is level. We can have this player in our team. We cannot have Casey Palmer in our team. Do I'm
Son,
lying? We cannot have him in our team
it's going to be a tricky one. I think his
because we
last
are not gonna get better
I think
as a
his last
team.
opportunity will come up in the next window. I think Steve McLaren will pick him in the next window. I think that will be the World Cup qualifier games and the Gold Cup games. I think that will be probably his last opportunity to really cement to be a really a a main player in that starting 11. If not, I'm willing to give him, to the role to be a squad player in the Reggae Boy team, because he has experience. He's a good lad. He's not that, he's not that arrogant. So I'm willing to give him that role as a player in the national team, a squad player. When we decide to play you, that's when we're gonna play you. You're not going to be the first two player that if we need a midfield change will come off the bench. So it's a very difficult one, but just let me just say this, wrap up with the Bobby Reid thing. With him now going down, another player that just signed for a club that got relegated will play in the championship. Bobby Reid, since he have been playing, for coming to the Bristol City, probably, the first team around 2010, 2011, he went out on loan a couple of times with Plymouth, but Bobby Reid have only signed 4 permanent deals in his career in England. Bristol City, was in first professional contract. Cardiff, I think he was in the Premier League squad. I think he played, I don't remember if he was in the Premier League or Championship, but Cardiff, and then Fulham, where he spent, the last 5-6 seasons. I know Leicester City. So he have signed, not saying he played for 14, but 4 permanent contract. So this is a player that they usually hold down his contract. Went down with Fulham, come up back with Fulham. The same thing, with Bristol City. Back and forth, League One, Championship. So maybe him as well. Maybe that will suit him as best because he wasn't getting enough game, at Leicester. I think Ruud van Nistelrooy didn't really believe much in him until he just started to get little minutes, and then he proved him that, hey, I'm a fighter. So maybe that's another player that will drop down to the level of where he can play comfortable, play with a swagger, have a little bit of confidence coming into the national team. I don't know, dropping down to a lower level. You don't really want to see that, but a Bobby Reid that, you will say maybe
any level the player drop from, it should be from the Premier League to the Championship. But that's it. That is it. I don't think going down to the low. I don't want to see our player leaving. If a team get relegated, okay, fine. Yeah. But leaving a team after you just leave a championship team and going down a lower level, dog, I think that's disappointing.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's disappointing. But I want to, just highlight, before we take the comments, a few comments there with Jonathan Russell. But people, this is the highlights package of Jairus, through the entire season, and it's probably a minute or a few, so enjoy the ride, watching some beautiful clips of Jairus.
Town press onto Barnsley. Kasumu thinks he was held by Wakali. The ball runs for Russell, and it's now a counter-attack led by John Russell of Barnsley onto his right. He shoots, deflected in. 1-0 Barnsley. John Russell picked his moment, looked as if he'd left it too long. He unleashed the right footer, and I think it was deflected beyond the reach of Lee Nichols. In front of the stunned Huddersfield Town support, it's Barnsley 1, Huddersfield Town 0, and John Russell, the ex-Town player, has scored.
Shouldn't be allowed to run that far. His last 2 passes out of 3 have gone straight to a Town player. He's not actually started the game sparkling, and he's allowed to run 40 yards with the ball. Not at great pace either, not with any sort of great trickery, just fumbling his way through. As you say, I think there's a bit of a deflection as he goes past Nichols. Nichols seems to react quite late with the strike. I think he's being questioned maybe by the bench as well, Nichols, but I think he's got to stay big because the ball's coming towards him. Then it takes a deflection. I'm not quite sure who was off. Lee's.
That's the highlight package right there. Jonathan Russell, all
He's
10
a
goals.
He's a box crusher.
Yeah.
Very I like that.
Wait, hold on to that thoughts. Where you rank League One football compared to Central America leagues? The Costa Rica is the strongest Central American league. Then Honduras, then I think maybe Panama or Guatemala, but I would say probably Guatemala, and then Nicaragua is there as well. But where you rank the League One compared to the level, the Central American league, club leagues, I want to say like the Chile, any one of the South American league except Brazil and Argentina league and the MLS, where you will rank are 15, the League One teams.
To be honest, just because I've never watched I watched a couple of MLS games, but not too much. But the reason why I still would have put the League One, because we know the English we know England is the grassroots of football in England is very rough and feisty and stuff like that, which the same in the CONCACAF. I think I'm trying to see. I would say I would still give it to League One. It's just that when you have these players that leave from England to come over to play in the CONCACAF, it's very difficult, because especially they're gonna have to play in some atmosphere and playing on some field they're gonna struggle with. You get what I'm saying? But I think the physicality is way much. I think the championship and the League One is very physical, but I think in CONCACAF, man, want broke your foot, dog. You see me? I say, man, they don't care. Enough of these players is playing at a level where they're not playing at a level where these players, they're gonna have to be careful. I feel like the man over them are saying that the man just like look man South American, just give South American players them, they play at elite level, and look how they play. They want to kill them one another.
I just think that it's not much greater than much of the leagues in CONCACAF, but it's right there. But I think the MLS is above it. But I think that if you try to rank MLS amongst one of the leagues outside of Premier League, maybe it's a championship. I think the best second division team in the world. But what is the difference? I think America's region, they played art, passion, and soul. They fight. You understand? Yeah. It's a culture for them. It's a very tribal thing in England, but I just think that Latinos, they look at football different than the English. The English, there's all about the community. It's all about the grandfather, great grandfather supporting this club. It's a tradition, so you keep that tradition going in the family. So it's more on that. But I think when you're talking about a religion, I don't think England and football as a religion, we talk about the Latinos countries, the South Americans, the CONCACAF leagues, but the League One probably better than a few, but not everything. But it's a good level, same
I
way.
would give
But if you look at it, might be the last 20 years. No, more quality is adding into League One at this moment.
I
The
would
teams.
I would give to me I would give over the League One. I think the Latina the football way is more technical because
Yeah.
I still feel like the Mexican League, the
Mhm.
MLS, because the MLS have a lot of South American, a lot of
You realize I don't call MLS the Mexican League because that's way above. That's way
yeah.
above the League
Yeah, I
One.
think that I
That's
think the
way above.
technical ability is just way above.
Yeah.
Because the Premier League, League One, Championship, there's a lot of they still play with a lot of long balls. You get what I'm
Hmm.
saying? It's just few teams that play with the football on the floor. You get what
Yeah.
I'm saying? But I would give it to over here, and I think the players in this region have a little bit more flair because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
I
Yeah. They
think
play more freedom,
the coach give them more freedom, which in the over England,
more
over Europe
structure.
is more structured, very strict. As I saw what one of the reasons why, because I saw yesterday in that Real Madrid game against Barcelona, I saw what Hendrick tried to do with the ball when he tried to dominate the ball. I mean,
Yeah.
hear the commentator them want the English commentator want to say, yeah, what am I do? What
Yeah.
am I
Yeah.
do?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
something that they do over this side in a South American.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? That's something that they try. That's something
Yeah.
Vinny, these
Yeah.
players do. You get what I'm saying? In Jamaica, if you watch the JPL too, that's something that a man pile a man want salad a man. You see me I say? So I think it's the more flairness, the more technical ability on the ball is way much over this side when it comes to
Yeah.
the that.
Yeah. But bless up yourself, Barbary King, as well. But comments time. Touch on that player Ellis at MB. Is it MBU Ellis? Is that Michael Gard? Is it? I think it's at Racing. I think Ellis is at Racing. But I think Ellis might can be a player that if he's going to cut it at the international level, there has to be some type of a team chemistry, and how those players going to graduate into the team. You understand? So, but I think he need more. I think he probably going to have to work on a little bit of strength in terms of finishing games at that high level. Even though if he get into the team, might not require to play 90 minutes, but you want the player to at least play that high, high tempo intensity for at least 15, 20 minutes. And it's not easy. So I think maybe, only thing he lack, the skill set is there, but it's just the quality. You understand? The quality, the strength, I must say, not quality, strength, he's playing just not starting every game. But, I think that goes to Casey Palmer, but I don't think when you look at Casey leaving Coventry, going into a team that is struggling, cannot get into cannot get into the team. Every time when he got that opportunity, he just get let down. Yeah, the manager just get let down, and he's a manager that commit to Casey Palmer. He's commit to Casey Palmer. I know he wasn't the manager that brought him in. It was a German that brought Casey Palmer in. And Ruben Selles he's a Spanish man, so him commit to Casey, giving him the opportunity, and he just letting him down every time, So Russell, carrying the ball in CONCACAF, he is too slow. League One can't compare to CONCACAF. I can understand what you're coming from. League One cannot compare to CONCACAF, but you have players that play in League One at this moment, but that have quality that can really cut it, but and how what team they were playing and what philosophy and what coach. And I think if you look at the League One, as I just said to Daniel, 20 years ago, the League One wasn't. It's like literally like a non-league in the EFL. No, the League One, if you look at it, look at the money that's been pumping it. If you look at the players that competing now in League One, it's getting better. It's a better league than 20 years ago. So send that team down to League One or a player to League One time, it was just the worst ever thing you could do to him. But talking about slow, I just think those, PS, you think PS have a lot to do with our midfielder play, because Frankie Lampard wasn't the best player with PS, but he was the
Yeah.
Andre
I
Pirlo wasn't
think
the best player in terms
to
of pace.
me, in this region, you just have to have physicality and
Yeah,
technical ability. I don't think PS do it in this region. I think once you have a head on your body, you can control the ball, turn and look and pass. Look at Busquets. Busquets does not need speed. When you're playing a certain part in the midfield or playing midfield, you don't need pace. You get what I'm saying?
yeah,
You just need to know how to play the ball and use your brain. You get what
yeah.
I'm saying? So I don't think PS have anything to do with it. Like
I just think maybe Frank Lampard game, I know he played at the highest level, would probably be the perfect player to compare him. I know
you just have to
you,
know how to read the game
yeah.
and be in the right place.
And if you
Yeah.
look at the goals that he scored, he's very physical in the air. He's running in the box. It's very late. He scored multiple of that. The ability of carrying the foot. It doesn't matter if you're under 6, under 10. The ability of carry the football for 20, 40 yards and get a shot and goal with power. If you can do that at any level, that's a skills right there that you can use. You understand? But next up, from I watch Daniel Johnson, Casey Palmer, Ravel, Lati, and the lower league players for their clubs. I knew that they would struggle in CONCACAF. Why? I would love to know why you think, out of everybody of that names that you call, DJ, Casey, Ravel, Lati, I just think maybe put Ravel one side because he was gifted with a talent. Maybe Daniel Johnson was probably one of the most probably technical player that would play the football with his feet. You understand? Casey Palmer, I don't know. Casey Palmer just looked frightening to me every time when he play in the CONCACAF. But Lati don't really look comfortable on the football even up to today. But when you talk about do a shift off the ball,
But I have something to say about Latte. I don't like seeing Latte play in the defense. I think we need to find somewhere to put him in the
right
midfield.
back.
Maybe right. I just
That's where
don't
Frank
see.
Lampard kind of playing right center back, right back at times.
Yeah, I just don't see him as I don't think him influence as much when he in that
Yeah,
put in
and
that area.
and in CONCACAF, midfielders do influence the game a lot in this region. I just say America's region. Football do influence the game a lot in the midfield, and you could see it in Europe now. They dominating, the football in the middle of the park. That's where you can win the game easily if you dominate it. So
Yeah,
we need players that will influence, or make an impact on the football,
yeah.
especially throughout the entire 90 minutes. You understand? I wanted to ask you something, but I think, when I got, remember about that question, I will ask you as well. We have to learn that, that because a player doesn't play 2 games for his club means that he is failing. Lati started recently again after being on the bench for a number of games. All right. So the Lati thing is, I think Lati took his opportunity again. He got the opportunity, and then before he started bench for Frank Lampard, he made a couple mistakes in I think one of those last 2 games before he started to replay back again, and he found himself on the bench. There was a defender at the time. I remember if it's Eccles, but a player went out for 1 game, because he was struggling with a little niggling, and Lati came back in the fold, and Lati started to play excellent again. So Lati is a player since Frank Lampard came through the door at Coventry. It's all about rotation in the first couple of months. Then he found his 11. Lati found himself out of that because of a bad game, which I just think it's brutal on any player. But for Casey, with I hold Casey at a high regard. Casey is a very good player that when he was coming, through the was it Chelsea, Daniel? Casey was coming from, right? I
Yeah.
think it was Chelsea. Yeah, he was coming through the academy at Chelsea. He's a very good player. But for him, not having the best games, he have more bad games in his All City career than good games right now. So if you look at a player now, are we talking about what he have done in the last couple of months? He have been doing rubbish. So if you say that we can criticize player, can't critique them in a just couple of games, no, we can criticize the players them as well. But Casey is not having the best of time, and for him, with the quality of Casey Palmer for championship football and not getting much games in that struggling team, it says something that he's doing something wrong. You understand? So, I just think you can criticize a player. Now, we have a pool. We judge players most on what they do for Jamaica. Yeah, you're right. You say we judge the player, but if he's not managed to do the job for his club, it's hard. It's going to be hard, especially a
Yeah.
team like us that
If
don't
if
go on.
if a player is not performing for his club, why you call him up? You get me? Yeah, I say we'll only judge him on what he does for Jamaica, but he have to perform for his club so we can able to get him to come play for Jamaica, right? So we can only just judge them only when they play for Jamaica. We have to judge them when they play for their club team as well.
And he's not even playing properly when he playing for
You
us.
get me?
That you can say, okay, if he get the opportunity for the Reggae Boys, then okay, he's playing good. He's not. A lot of these players that's not playing, good football for their club. When they come on international duty, they are not really doing it. So it's just hard to put that mark like, hey, this is it right now. You're going to find yourself on a bench. So we have too much players that playing average football, not playing up to their standard. You understand? Bobby is at a stage and has so much experience in CONCACAF for Jamaica where it doesn't matter which level league. I didn't really, criticizing Bobby about going down to the championship. Bobby, that's a very good level for him where he can, at this age of his career, he will get, loads of game. He should get loads of game in that Leicester team. And if you look at some of the comments in that Leicester post that they made, and I think when, when Ruben Ruud van Nistelrooy was doing that interview, a lot of people are saying that Bobby Reid is one of the only players that for Leicester City actually fighting for that crest, fighting for the badge, fighting for the people, just playing with a lot of energy. As per usual, Guru, you continue to chat rubbish. If Bailey can't run through CONCACAF defense, how will Russell do? League One is easier physical. That's a JPL. This is kind of ridiculous, but can't really look at compare Jonathan Russell with Leon. It's different position. And you look at Leon Bailey is the magnitude of that player. It's pressuring, which is supposed to be know to deal with pressure. Player Villa Park supposed to can handle pressure. Understand? But you can't just judge that and say, hey, Bailey can't run through CONCACAF defense. But we're not saying Jonathan Russell will run through.
Every player different. Until we see that player come on and perform, then we can make our judgment. But they can't just say, just because this player, we see Demar Gray come and perform. And Demar Gray is at a level where when Demar Gray just come play for Jamaica, he was performing. He was doing way better performance than Liam Bailey.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So you can't really judge. Man in a JPL come play for Jamaica and look good. So what's your point? You get what I'm saying? So it depends. It's all up to the player. It's not where the level they're playing sometimes. It's all up to the player. You get what I'm saying? The reason why we're criticizing Casey Palmer is that Casey Palmer was at a team, then he went to another team, then his performance started to go down. And then we're talking about he need to take a step down to start getting games. That's why we're criticizing Casey Palmer, saying that he's going backwards. You get what I'm saying? We want to see Casey Palmer is in the championship and going into the Premier League, not going backwards. You get the level. We need a level to keep going up. Not backwards.
The funny thing is his performances are going backwards with the team. So it's not like his team is going backwards and his performance is being up to par where he's performing really well. Like Jonathan Russell, his team was in the playoffs at one point before they went 8 games without a win. But he continued to perform. So it's a big,
Yeah.
big difference. It's a big, big difference. You understand? Bobby Gibbons for Jamaica is mostly good. Yeah, yeah. Bobby is always big up Jamal Lowe, the next hardest worker in the midfield. Other than Bobby. Jamal Lowe, that's one is a hard one to say. If Jamal Lowe is one of the hard working, every South American top league is better and tougher than League One. Yeah, me not gonna argue with you because I have my rate South American football. You understand? Me rate it, and I'm not sure if all what about the league that in up in La Paz in Bolivia? You seeing that maybe that is better than League One football? I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
I
I'm not
can't
sure.
I can't I can't really speak on
Yeah,
something that I can't really speak on something that I
but that
don't really watch.
yeah,
You get what I'm saying? I only can judge them by the players that they have. You get what I'm saying? And see the if Jamaica go up against a team and they hear that, oh, this player playing in them league, this player playing in, that's what I can't really
yeah.
judge by not watching the league and know
And I'm
exactly.
not gonna sit here and tell you I'm gonna watch every South American league, but I do watch the Copa Libertadores, and I saw the teams in previous times. The South American teams are very good, but not all of them is up to the standard that they can compete in the group stage. Sometimes the teams from even Peru, from even Venezuela, they are just not up to par. And I just think maybe if you maybe put up a team from Bolivia, yeah, a team from Bolivia, to come up against a team like Birmingham or Wrexham, it would be a very good fight. Put them on American side to play a one-half game. It would be a very good, a very good game. You understand? But I'm not going to tell you that, I watch every league in South America. And look, and as I said before, the football in the Americas region is all about two things. It's just a way of life. It's a religion for them. It's deeply rooted in their culture. So they will be more passionate at some level than the English. As I said, it's more like a tribal thing in England where it's all about like the community. My grandfather is older, that season ticket older city, and it's just something that need to just live on. Players in the region are more prepared for international football in this region. And it goes back down to what we reggae boys, the issue, what Jamaica is doing, we are not preparing. Those guys are preparing themselves for international football. Speed is not an issue. Yeah, I don't, speed is a plus, but you can look what Real Madrid went into like yesterday. They went into a team that they're more quicker, they're more physical, but Barca team that's more, technical on the football, know what they're doing on the football field. They understand have that more structured way of how they want to play. And that can conquer speed. One ball pre, you never walk alone. Come on first out in the Liverpool thing. I would not say, Busquets is slower than Russell. Just run through someone. Speed isn't the issue. Oh, you bring the ball. John Russell is a very improved player. Yeah, look, he's a very improved player of what he have done last season. You understand? He have learned his lesson. He took his opportunity and he run it. Hopefully, as I said, and one of my show that teams in the championship are inquiring about Jonathan Russell's signature. I think he have only have like a year left back on his contract. You understand? They will struggle because international football is different. Lower league club do not utilize the midfield to an extent. You're right, because down there is all about wing play. But as I said that before, if you look at championship football and it's taking its way into League One, even non-league, keepers tend to want to play the football from the back. So they are getting a little bit more technical down there. You understand? Casey doesn't seem to be able to advance our Jamaica midfield. Not one. When I see it as yet, you can you call an experienced regular ball player because he performed for Jamaica. We do not care about what they do for their clubs. Like, no, we have to care what them do for them clubs, Guru. We have to care. We have to care. Why Anthony get left out
No,
of Manchester United?
go one side, go sit down, man. Cause yeah, be a man is here, chat. Be a man this. What you mean? What you mean? We not to worry about what them a do. Come on, man. Brother, speak with something.
So Joe,
Yeah, man. Be a man. I would football go.
I don't
I
know,
will.
bro. I don't know.
Make
Big
I
up
come here
yourself.
for come give you a idea. Oh, brother, I come from give you a
But
idea.
Daniel, look, want to touch on the last topic of the show. Want to touch on it. The Leon Bailey issue. He answer back to the fans who have lashed out at him, on social media about, where he's at, he's missing. And he came back by doing the right and perfect thing, what a player should do, answer the critics with the football at your feet.
Mm.
Yes, the game was crying out for somebody to just go at the Palace defender. Yeah, go at Tyreek Mitchell, just go at him. Just go at, Guy and all these players. He have done exactly what the game was crying out for. Missing for a couple of games, but back was a positive show for him. He remind us that this is the quality I have. This is what I can do on any given day at the highest level, especially in the Premier League. That game was at Wembley. Tired legs was out there, but he have done it. He have done it.
Yeah.
Ramsey came on, didn't manage to match up to the pace at the game, but Bailey did it. So, I mean, what's your takes though on him coming in back? Came on before Malan. Unai Emery decided, hey, I need to go back to the whole player that I was, I was giving the game times previously before I sign all these players. And Aston Villa, it's a mixed feelings between Leon Bailey and Villa Park. When you look at it, different fans saying that this is the player that it doesn't matter what he's going through at this moment, we're going to back him because he was the player that, sweat, bleed, everything, drive us into the Champions League, help them to drive them into the Champions League where they can, attract the Asensio, the Rashford. About your takes though on his performance.
I think he have a good performance when he came on yesterday. He looked like he was gonna get for a long time. I see Bailey getting past his player. You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But I think it was too late to get back in that game. I think Christopher was just too good defensively. But otherwise than Bailey and Bailey, I think he have a very poor season for me. Compared to what he did last season. I know that he got a lot of injury this season, but I think I saw that he deleted his Instagram. I know
Yeah. I don't know
he's
what
been
happened.
maybe a lot of comments.
Yeah.
I think someone told me that he deleted his Instagram. I didn't know he deleted his Instagram, and I guess there's just a lot of pressure on knowing that the fans them Aston Villa fans them probably taking out their frustration knowing that they're probably not going to get Champions League. I think it's going to be a very difficult for them to get Champions League, and
Yeah.
probably just taking out on Leon Bailey. I think Leon Bailey need to understand that this is what when you're playing in England and Premier League, fans gonna, especially seeing that he's doing shows with his girl, with his wife, reality show, and you're promoting.
We're in a busy part of the campaign.
Yes, promoting that in a busy part of the season. They just got knocked out of the Champions League. They just got knocked out of the FA Cup. They have a very, very slim chance of getting back in the Champions League. And then seeing that we Jamaican, we need to understand that this thing that you're just putting anything on Instagram. We are human beings. Footballers are human. They have a life out of football. But when you have to read the room. You get what I'm saying? Because me even see them even see people criticize Rashford who went somewhere yesterday, and Rashford was injured. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, just by
you know what I'm saying? So Bailey need to read the room. He have not performed this season. So when fans see you promote show when he is a footballer, you see if you perform on the field and you promote your thing, nobody cares. But when you're not performing, when you've been injured, when people look for your contract and so much money you get, they will
a year.
They will complain. You get what I'm saying? So if you have to delete him Instagram and wait till the season over, then do it. You get what I'm saying? Because maybe don't see in the comments, don't hear the noise, might able to make you focus on this play some. Because he came on, he looked really good. In a long time I haven't seen him look so good. Look sharp, look
Yeah,
up.
sharp. Yeah,
You get what
fresh.
I'm saying? So
Yeah, look
yeah,
hungry.
yeah,
Him
look
look
hungry.
mean.
So
Then it's like
maybe
went up
that
with a
that's
statement.
maybe that's a motivation. You get what I'm saying? So I need to see that. I mean, the season is the season is actually
But I
over.
mean, finish off the season with
Yeah, finish up
sharp.
a receiver and bring that in the World Cup. You get what I'm saying? So awful. That's a sign of him bringing that in the World Cup. You get what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
And actually, remember, he scored, in the last international break, to save us in St. Vincent, that penalty. And look, to step up in that game in St. Vincent to the
Who's
last
gonna
moment.
buy Liam? Who's gonna buy Liam Bale for 30 million? I don't think nobody
Um,
buying Liam Bale for 30 million. Who's
it's
gonna buy
going,
Liam Bale for
going,
30
it's going to
million?
take that. It's going to take that amount of money, because if you look at it, Daniel, his contract will end around 27 or 28.
Yeah.
I think that's where his contract will end. You understand? But let me answer, all over the world, players from
You have a
countries sit
soup
on
spoon.
their
Yeah,
club.
that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. So people, we are heading out, man, my last now, and Daniel is heading out as well. You understand? But all over the world, players from different countries sit on their club bench and still play. You have a point, my brother. You have a point. You have a point, but it have to be relevant. It have to be relevant for what he's doing. Something. I say a player not train, him not a club, where will be his match fitness? Where will be his fitness? Yeah, man.
Jay,
You
but
understand?
Jay, Guru, we have not been to the World Cup since 1998 because we accept mediocre, we accept nonsense, and this is the reason why we have not been to the World Cup, and this is the reason why Jamaica have achieved anything than the second place in football. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if we want to be a serious nation and start to compete, this nonsense of having players that not competing at their club and have them on the bench. So when they put them on the field, they look like they never played football before. How many times we see players that leave their club and come to Jamaica, they act like they don't know how to play football? Because they have not been playing for their club team. They have not been they are rusty. You get what I'm saying? So if we want to be serious in CONCACAF, we need to bring you're not gonna see USA gonna bring a passenger on their team. You see what I'm saying? So why we as a Jamaica we should accept passenger on the team? We need to bring players
Why?
that are performing at the club, are playing.
Yeah.
We're not, and it's not a charity. You see what I'm saying? It's not a
Yeah.
charity. So we
You see,
need players we
you
have
see,
to perform and a play.
you can, exit out when you're ready. But for me, you understand, more to know the player the something for him club. I remember the days when James Rodriguez frozen out of squads, all over Europe, and every time when James go up on the pitch for Colombia, him do something. But I'm just saying, when we pick those players that are not doing anything, they cannot perform. So we must continue to pick them. It's not like those players that are not performing at the club, they are not. They are performing for the national team. It's not. It's not. They are not beating down the door at the national level. You understand? And I think he said about Dexter. Look, Dexter isn't getting the game time that he wanted, but guess what? Every time when Dexter, because lately I've been watching Charlton and Barnsley a lot, because the players that's there and they're performing well. Dexter impacting the game. You know, if you play a whole heap of minutes, but once you impact the game, your chance will come. And I just think hit with Dexter go to Barnsley, that's a wrong move for him, because the player that's there is a player that is a staple in that team. That right hand side with in the chair at the back and the two wing back. So he will always be on the bench when it comes down to Dexter position. But Dexter is not getting the luxury of minutes. But guess what? When he step on the pitch, he might perform. I just, Dexter was going through, some little issues, with that, with club. He got that loan move late, in Switzerland. I think it's Switzerland. So he wasn't really up to standard, and you could see that Dexter Lemekis game went off when Dexter was, last season, at the start of last season, 2023-24 season. Right, he started off with Rotterdam in the championship. his loan spell cut short. He went to Arts, playing in SPL, playing in Europe. We saw what Dexter did in the Nations League, of 2024 when we played it, when he scored a goal in Panama. We saw what he did because he was playing more football, he was playing at a higher level, and he was playing in a more suitable team that will have the football more. And if you look at how they trajectory Dexter, yeah, they send him to a championship team that will always, dip on the back foot. Yeah, will always defend. So they want to grow his 1v1 game with Rotterdam. It was that team, I think they got relegated from the championship that season. They said, okay, he improved 1v1 on his defensive game. They sent him to a team, Arts, with a team that if they're not going to play Rangers or Celtic, maybe Aberdeen is the only team that will match up to them where that team will defend on the back foot. But that team will always have the football, and Dexter game change in the final third, and that's how we saw a better Dexter, and that's how Dexter game have changed over the last season. Look, when the start of the season, he struggled to get a move. He went out on loan a little bit late. Thank God for the transfer window in Switzerland, ended a little late. He got into that, got injured, been in and out, not performing. You understand? Saw Dexter now. Yes, he's getting like in 45, between him 45 and 20 minutes a game for Barnsley. He could see maybe his rhythm is coming back. So different players are take it different when they're not playing. But for Casey and for a couple others, when they're not playing for their club and we continue to pick them, and when we continue to pick them and they're playing for the national team, they're not performing. So we're going to run with that player if he's not performing for the national team and then he's not performing for his club team. But people, look, I said it before, it's a really Dexter.
People.
Like, bro, me know all comes in final few minutes most of the time.
Why go? Why?
We're gonna talk about this a different time. I'm gonna say the time short, the time really short, and we announce it, we really have to go. So big up on yourself, people. You're full of excuse. Dexter had many bad games. How much bad games Dexter have? Dexter was one of the best players in the Gold Cup for us. After the Gold Cup, then Dexter went down the hill. During that little part of the early phase of the Nations League group stage, he has started to have a bad game. But if you look at maybe the last couple of windows, yes, you could see probably the rhythm is coming back. Dexter has been one of our probably consistent players. I don't know, since he came through the door. I don't know. I don't know, man. But people, bless up on yourself. There, you make one excuse for it. Yo, bless up yourself, Guru. Really appreciate the chat. Bless up to everybody. Bless up Mr. ELM. I understand. Bless up to everybody. I've run. We announced that we were going to do 45 minutes, and went over. Another 45 minutes, but. Thanks everybody. In your opinion, Dexter was good in the Gold Cup. Yeah, he was good. I think he was good. But because he set the standard so high in the Nations League, semi-final against US and Panama. I don't want to carry on, but you guys don't understand Guru agenda. No overseas players. Yo, bless them. Yo, people, really appreciate everybody though. I remember streaming on Daniel, football show and Academy videos, like up the video and support both channels. Bless up on yourself, we going out. See you guys really next week. We're gonna put on a long-standing show and talk about football again. Bless up on yourself, people.
Go.